Okay, meanwhile, I have to give you the dumbest and most hilarious story of the day. I do love this story. According to the UK Daily Mail, photos obtained by the Daily Mail show how a person named LeClaire was able to transform herself over the course of just 2 years from a white college student to an indigenous two-spirit, fooling even some in the Native American community. LeClaire identified themselves on Facebook as a white woman in July 2017 as they spoke of their nuptials with Adam Pagenkopf the following summer. But by 2019, they publicly identified as a Native American two-spirit, which is a term many indigenous people use to describe a non-binary gender identity. Now, I do have to point out here that not only is this absurd and silly on its face, it is hysterical that the media has to continue calling this obviously female person a they, but can also point out they're not Native Americans. If a person says, I'm a Native American two-spirit and I wish to be called they, instead of everybody just saying, we're not going to pay attention to any of that, we're just going to call you a white lady because you're a white lady. Instead, the media is like, no, we will call you they. We're just going to draw the line at saying that you're indigenous. The good news for LeClaire is that eventually she'll end up presumably being a senator from Massachusetts. That's the way this works. If you pretend to be Native American, then you can run for president eventually. LeClaire even went on to co-found a queer indigenous artists collective in Wisconsin and started buying Native American art from Etsy, which they would pass off as their own and sell to unsuspecting buyers. Man, wokeness, they say go woke, go broke, but the truth is that if you're talking about catering to a particularly stupid crowd, go woke, make a little bit of money. Go woke, claim victimhood, you do okay. It used to be in the more racist days of the United States that people, in order to escape the evils of racism, would sometimes attempt to pass as members of the white race. Right? And that was an indicator of the evils of America's racial caste system. And there's a real thing that used to happen. Now you have white people attempting to pass themselves off as members of minorities, which should tell you something about the social circumstances surrounding race in the United States right now. You don't see a lot of black Americans attempting to pass themselves off as white, but you do see a lot of white Americans attempting to pass themselves off as members of minorities to thereby gain victimhood status in the new racial hierarchy of intersectionality. Some in the Native community have now said they had their suspicions about LeClaire, who went from a light-haired brunette to a tan woman with dark hair over the course of just a few years. LeClaire was ultimately forced to step down from their community positions last month after it came to light that they were actually a pretendian, a term natives use for people who pretend to have indigenous lineage. It is unclear whether they will face charges for their false claims, as profiting off a false Native American identity is a federal crime. By the way, that's kind of fascinating that if you profit off a false Native identity, that's somehow a federal crime. But if you profit off another false identity, like saying pretending you're a man or a two-spirit, or you're a man and you pretend you're a woman, that's not a federal crime. Advanced Smite, a hobbyist genealogist, has laid out how LeClaire has claimed to have Métis, Oneida, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Cuban, and Jewish heritage. Adding a little bit of Jewish at the end, just for the fun of it. The anonymous genealogist told Madison 365 they first became aware of LeClaire through a Facebook ad for the upcoming talk on indigenous feminism. It identified LeClaire under her native name, Nibiwakamigkwe, which Advanced Smite said they found unusual because given the Ojibwe name is typically something that would be just used in ceremony or with other people who are Ojibwe or a part of your community, it's weird that you're publicly using it. Advanced Smite, who is also of indigenous heritage, conducted some research and found that while LeClaire is a common Native American last name, there were social media posts in which they identified as Anishinaabe. The genealogist then discovered that LeClaire had previously claimed to be Cuban. So this person seems to be some sort of sociopath seeking to take advantage of the woke status in modern America. This is bizarre. It's bizarre stuff. And again, says less about this human being because there are lots of crazy people in the United States and much more about the incentive structure in the United States right now. The supply of racism does not meet the demand for racism. And so people are now claiming to be members of minority race, minority status, just so that they can claim to be victims in American society. Totally wild. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is continuing right now. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be getting into Walgreens now distributing the abortion pill. Plus, we have on an economist to discuss the problems with the interest rate in the United States and why stagflation looks like our future. If you're not a member, become a member. Use code Shapiro at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. Great deal. Click the link in the description and join us.